Let's talk about the next sensitive point in the RAG application, how you split documents into chunks. If you remember, our application includes the indexing part, where we have a set of documents that we want to index semantically to allow the retrieval to find them. Here is an example of how we did it in our first simple RAG notebook. You can see that we are going over all the documents and taking the note aspect of it and using that to encode the documents. This is a very simple part. There is no need to chunk the document. The reason for that is because the documents are very simple. Here is an example of our document, and we have a short notes part with all the text that we need. But this is not always the case. Sometimes we can have documents like this one. It's a very, very long document with different aspects of it, like we have diagrams and tables like this one, and charts that we need to include. And we saw that we have some diagrams and mathematical equations and so on. So there is a lot of stuff going on here, and we cannot put it just as one chunk into our index for a few reasons. Let's see why. One of them is, if you remember from our second notebook, where we took a look at the embedding model, and we had this transformer, and we can see that in transformer we have the maximum sequence length to be 256. So if we input into our embedding longer token sequence, the rest will just be ignored. Nevertheless, it also makes a lot of sense that we have a very long document. We cannot squeeze it and encode it into a single vector because there may be multiple topics in it. Therefore, we want to split the document into semantic chunks. So there are quite a few chunking strategies where we have our long document, multiple pages, multiple paragraphs, and we want to split them into chunks. So this is an example of how we can split this document. We can do that by characters or by tokens, a few sentences, few paragraphs, or semantic. The semantic will be the part that we'll practice in our next notebook. But before that, let's look at this nice visualization that gives us a sense of what might happen to our documents. This chunk visualization has this long text. You can play with it yourself in the link below. You can put your text there. But then you can have a few options. So one is how long is a chunk. Here we're talking about a number of characters, so we have 100 characters. As you can see, the document is split into chunks. Sometimes it's in the middle of a word, in the middle of a sentence, in the middle of a paragraph. Doesn't look that good, but nevertheless, this is a strategy we can use. We can increase the size. We can have 300 characters, and now it looks a bit better, but still we have some words that are cut in the middle, sentences, and so on. We can change the strategy to something a bit more intelligent. Here we are using the recursive character. So we are going from top to bottom, splitting into paragraph sentences, and then try to find the best split. Here you can see the first paragraph is one chunk. The second one is almost one chunk. There is a small reminder. The third one is divided into two chunks. We can do it even larger. Therefore, we might get something which is even nicer. So now we have 470 characters. Those two paragraphs are one chunk, second chunk, third chunk, and so on. So this is a nice visualization to give us a hint how we can split documents into different chunks based on some parameter. Now let's see an example of how to use semantic chunking, which has the potential to be the most accurate one as we do the retrieval based on the semantic of each one of those chunks.